Good morning, peeps. Welcome to beautiful Tarrytown, New York. We got out of our hotel and are taking a little walk, going to find some coffee. I am so tired. Did not sleep that great. I never really sleep that great in a hotel. Our hotel was really nice and clean, but it was also super noisy. You could hear everything in the rooms next door. So gonna get some coffee and then I will be in a better shape to talk to you guys. It's a little confusing because we keep going, where are we? This is Tarrytown. We've been all over Sleepy Hollow, visited Irvington last night. We're gonna be bouncing back and forth between all three again today as we talk about the life of Washington Irving, his stories, his legacy, connections to the Revolutionary War. This beautiful, beautiful spot in New York State, an area that I love, I keep coming back to, and I am so excited to share with you guys. Noah is in this place, Coffee Labs Roasters. We liked the name, it had good reviews, we thought why not, but it is crazy in there, so I'm waiting for him. And hopefully he comes soon because I am so tired. And I know that once I have the coffee in me, I will be good to go and I will be excited for the day, be able to talk a lot clearer, explain everything to you guys, and we are gonna have an awesome adventure together. So I think we're gonna go over to Patriots Park, which I've been really excited to show you guys. And then we're gonna head over to the historic Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, the Old Dutch Church, one of my all-time favorite historic spots in America. So the historic Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, I can't wait to show you guys. I know we've been talking about it for over a year now. It's finally happening. Now that I have coffee in me, I can feel how excited I am because, to be honest with you, pre-coffee I didn't really feel much of anything. You guys remember, I am not a morning person at all. And I did not sleep good. Nice hotel, but paper thin walls. So, better times ahead. Cheers. All right, we're in Patriots Park, and I have been so excited to bring you guys here because this little park is full of history from a very interesting moment in the Revolutionary War. Last weekend when we were in Connecticut, I shared with you guys that in 1780, Benedict Arnold turned traitor and turned over the plans, or tried to turn over the plans, to West Point, where he was in command, just about 40 minutes up the Hudson River here in this beautiful part of New York. We're going to be talking a lot the rest of the month about Benedict Arnold. We're going to be doing a little bit of time jumping back and forth, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about his treachery. So Benedict Arnold was fully disillusioned, full of jealousy, misunderstanding. The homeboy had serious issues. And it got so bad to the point that he said, you know what? I have George Washington's ultimate trust. George Washington, who I could not imagine betraying. So Arnold decided to reach out to the British and he said, I am in control of West Point. It is a hugely important location along the Hudson. The Continentals have tried to block it and even built a great chain to keep British ships, goods, cargo, men of war out of the area and keeping it in our control. And he said, I'm going to turn all this over to you and the fort and whoever is on the grounds. You can have them. I want to join you, but I want money. I want a commission. There was some back and forth, and they granted it to him. Now, a lot of this communication was with a high-up officer. The head of intelligence, aka spying, for the British military was a man named Jon André. Jon André is a complicated figure in history because, yes, he played for the wrong side, but he was known to be charming and dashing and impressive. People who knew him said that he was very impressive. As the head of intelligence, he knew everyone. He stationed himself in Philadelphia for a time and made his way over here. He was supposed to be seeking safe harbor on a ship. The ship got caught up. He was not able to get it, so he had to go on foot to swap communication. And Jon André formulated a plan with the rest of his intelligence in conjunction with filthy, rotten, terrible, jealous, nasty, egomaniacal Benedict Arnold. And he used a fake name. He came in through this area under the name of Jon Anderson. He dressed in plain clothes, but there were checkpoints, and 3 Continentals came upon him, and it didn't sit right with them. They said, this guy talks in a manner that is not plain enough. Something about his dress isn't right. His alias doesn't make sense with his papers, so they decided to search him. He tried getting out of it, and usually Jon André could get out of sticky situations, but not today. And we are talking November of 1780. Now, of course, the following year, almost to the day, Benedict Arnold would burn Groton and New London, Connecticut, which is what we talked about last weekend. See, these things are all connected. But 1780, Benedict Arnold plans on handing over West Point. Jon André is short thereafter, nabbed here, and discovered when they got suspicious. He wasn't charming enough for the day. They decided to do a thorough search, checked his boots, and found papers and documents to West Point. These guys said, what the heck? So they alerted officials. They looked into it. It got backed to His Excellency General Washington, who was absolutely horrified. And they said, okay, this guy has got to be hanged ASAP. And that happened just right over here as well. And the reason that this is known as Patriots Park is not because anyone thinks that Jon André was some sort of patriot. It's because here in 1783, honest militiamen arrested Major Jon André, preventing disaster to the American cause. And George Washington said, their conduct merits our warmest esteem. They have prevented in all probability our suffering of one of the most severe strokes that could have been mitigated against us. It says, on this spot, the 23rd day of September, 1780, the spy, Major Jon André, General of the British Army, was captured by John Paulding, David Williams, and Isaac Van Wart. All natives of this county. History has told the rest. This is the people of Westchester County have erected this monument as well as to commemorate a great event to testify to their high estimation of that integrity and patriotism which, rejecting every temptation, rescued the United States from most imminent peril by baffling the arts of a spy and the plots of a traitor. Dedicated October 7th, 1853. How awesome! And there you can see a depiction of how it all went down. And if we cross the Tappan Bridge, or Mario Cuomo Bridge, as it's now known, you get to Tappan and the old 76 house where, after he was captured in this spot here, now Patriots Park, he was taken and held until his hanging, which is near the old 76 house on the other side, just near the New Jersey border. Also in this park, Christopher Columbus, and I'm really glad to see that this is still here because, yes, in this country for hundreds of years, Christopher Columbus was considered an important man in our history, and it is only in recent years that that narrative has changed. I don't like destroying history or monuments, so I'm really glad to see this here. And every year on Columbus Day, I post a picture of this, one of the few Columbus memorials left. There is also Christopher Columbus Park in Boston, which there has been chatter through the years about removing, but do not mess with the Italians of the North End and of Boston. That is all I have to say about that. You guys might be wondering how any of this ties in with the author, Washington Irving, and the rest of the town and the rest of the story. Well, it ties in a big way. Tarrytown in Tarrytown. So, Washington Irving is named after His Excellency, as you may have guessed. And in 1789, when Washington Irving was just 6 years old, he met his namesake. Washington Irving was born to wonderful parents, born and raised actually down over in Manhattan, later moved here to a lovely home that hopefully we're going to go take a look at pretty soon. And in 1789, when Washington was then newly elected president, he came here and he actually put his hand on Washington Irving and blessed him. This stuck with Washington Irving his whole entire life. And you have to understand too that 1789, the Rev War, was still very much fresh and impactful in people's lives in this area and in Manhattan where he lived. So stayed with him forever. and he never forgot it. He was very interested in this man whom he was named after. Many of you will know Washington Irving from his stories such as Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle, which Rip Van Winkle is highly underappreciated. That is a Rev War story as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he also wrote an incredible 5-volume biography on George Washington later on in his life, and later on in Irving's life. He also wrote Tales of Alhambra, The History of New York, several biographies and other short stories. But his volumes on General Washington are fantastic. It actually goes through his entire life. It is a wonderful representation, and that is why Washington Irving is not only one of my favorite Americans, a patriot and author, but a fellow historian. Huge inspiration in my life. I am the proud owner of an original first edition copy series of The Life of George Washington by Washington Irving. It took me several years to track it down and find it. I was in a little antique store in Massachusetts, and there they were. It was a price I could not refuse, so I finally own original first edition copies, which is incredible. Let's carry on and follow the story. We are at the Old Dutch Church, an Old Dutch Church burial ground, the site of the final resting place of one of my great American heroes, Washington Irving, and the characters from his book, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Let's take a look. And they do have all kinds of cool events. If you come in October, they actually have the Headless Horseman riding again. And here you go. You can see. Oh, this is a new sign. Awesome. They've fixed them. It was in pretty bad shape last time. Dutch Reformed Sleepy Hollow Church has been placed on the National Register of Historic Places. And it is one of the oldest churches in all of America. Remember I told you yesterday that this was New Amsterdam. This was a big Dutch colony, and this area in particular was heavy on that. This is one of the original houses of worship. See, Old Dutch Church of Sleepy Hollow, 1697. Crusty old sign. Okay, that's the one that I know. That other one I showed you is the new one. So I'm going to show you guys why this is one of my favorite spots in all the country. I'm always flapjawing about. Love it, love it, love it. This cemetery has a huge amount of first period, Revolutionary, early American, final resting places, and it is so easy to use your imagination and to travel back in time as you walk through this amazing historic space. And there is the inside of the Old Dutch Church. They do events now and again, but I am yet to get inside. They also used it to film the Sleepy Hollow movie. It is technically still an active congregation for the Dutch Reformed Church. There are so many unique headstones and beautiful crypts. Some are very creepy. Right off the bat, this always is striking. The very first headstone you come upon is that of 3 children, siblings, buried right here at the entrance to the old Sleepy Hollow Dutch cemetery. Pointing out that usually these early headstones you don't see a depiction of Jesus, so yes, that is very unique. You're going to see a lot of unique carvings and headstones as we go along this way. I have to say, it's interesting seeing it during the day. I have always, I've come during sunset where it's sort of light-ish, but I've even had to come with flashlights in the pitch black, which I'm not telling you guys to do because it's not allowed. When I have came at night, it's crazy because you can see lights in the distance from the houses down below the hill, and you kind of feel like you're in the set of a Sleepy Hollow movie. But guess what, guys? This is the real deal. And a brief thing I want to wrap up kind of on the Jon André, Benedict Arnold story. I realized I kind of cut that one short. Jon André was hanged, and he had a long carriage ride with notables, including Colonel Benjamin Talmadge, who was the head of our intelligence, and a wonderful, wonderful man, Connecticut boy. Ben Talmadge was actually best friends with Nathan Hale, who was hanged for very early intelligence before Talmadge took it over. So those stories are very much intertwined, and you knew that it meant a lot to him and hurt Benedict Arnold's betrayal, the connections to Jon André and all that, hit Ben Talmadge very hard. And we know that because he has memoirs left behind, which I highly suggest. If you guys are looking for a Rev War read, the Memoirs of Colonel Benjamin Talmadge is a really good one. But even Ben Talmadge was sort of impressed with Jon André, said that he was very personable, very well spoken, if nothing else. And before Jon André was hanged, he had his hands tied behind his back and a sort of like blindfold placed upon him, and right before, you know, they say any last words, and he pulled it down and he said, "I want it to be noted that I met my fate like a brave man," which I think is interesting and kind of impactful. He was a British soldier till the end, doing his job. He almost did it really well, but he was caught. We had to hang him. There has to be a consequence for that kind of treachery, and it was met right over here. But okay, back to the current pointing out that usually these early headstones you don't see a depiction of Jesus. So yes, that is very unique. You're going to see a lot of unique carvings and headstones as we go along this way. I have to say, it's interesting seeing it during the day. I have always, I think, well, I've come during sunset where it's sort of light-ish, but I've even had to come with flashlights in the pitch black, which I'm not telling you guys to do because it's not allowed. And a brief thing I want to wrap up kind of on the Jon André, Benedict Arnold story. I realize I kind of cut that one short. Jon André was hanged, and he had a long carriage ride with notables, including Colonel Benjamin Talmadge, who was the head of our intelligence, and a wonderful, wonderful man, Connecticut boy. Ben Talmadge was actually best friends with Nathan Hale, who was hanged for very early intelligence before Talmadge took it over. So those stories are very much intertwined, and you knew that it meant a lot to him and hurt Benedict Arnold's betrayal, the connections to Jon André and all that, hit Ben Talmadge very hard. And we know that because he has memoirs left behind, which I highly suggest. If you guys are looking for a Rev War read, the Memoirs of Colonel Benjamin Talmadge is a really good one. But even Ben Talmadge was sort of impressed with Jon André, said that he was very personable, very well spoken, if nothing else. And before Jon André was hanged, he had his hands tied behind his back and a sort of like blindfold placed upon him, and right before, you know, they say any last words, and he pulled it down and he said, "I want it to be noted that I met my fate like a brave man," which I think is interesting and kind of impactful. He was a British soldier till the end, doing his job. He almost did it really well, but he was caught. We had to hang him. There has to be a consequence for that kind of treachery, and it was met right over here. But okay, back to the current story. Noah said the trees has faces. The trees, actually, do you guys see this? They do. They have faces. And again, at night, if they do an event, which they do them in the month of October in the evening, I would highly suggest that because this place is very cool in the evening. We're looking for a little set of stairs in the middle. I think I see it. The grave of Washington Irving. I've been here several times. Yep, I see it in the distance. It's getting very hot today. Starting to feel it and walking up this hill. All right, guys, here we go. One of the greatest literary heroes of all time. You have to think, if Washington Irving had not written the stories that he wrote, would this area be what it is today? Would it be the beautiful village that it is? Would people come from all over to see this? Don't think so. Here is the family plot and the final resting place of a man that I have admired for a very long time. You guys know how historical novels, and yes, even historical quote-unquote fiction, has shaped my life. It's nice to see that there's lots of people coming here to pay respects. Hopefully they're learning something about Washington Irving. He is so much more than the legend of Sleepy Hollow. He's so much more than a story that now is synonymous with the holiday of Halloween. He is so much more than just an author. He's a historian. He was a family man, a wonderful contributor to the American cause. He ended up going on to work in politics. He was friends with a great number of American presidents. He had a lot of influence on this country. Noah found they've got these free maps in these little boxes, and you can see Andrew Carnegie, Revolutionary War Monument, Civil War Monument, Rockefeller, etc. It's just an amazing cemetery, and I think the setting also makes it so unique. Noah checking out one of the old creepy crypts. Nobody home, right? We have Headless Horseman tethers his horse nightly among graves in the churchyard, according to the legend, Sleepy Hollow, author Washington Irving. This is part of the Legends and Lore Historic Science of the State of New York. Just taking a look here at this section. The cemetery is huge. We are not going to be able to look at every little thing. We have tons to do today, but you can imagine what it would be like to live in these days. And you have a wide variety. You have first period graves, revolutionary graves, Victorian era graves, and as you will see, more recent headstones. You can actually still be buried here, which I think is kind of amazing. My migraine is gone and I feel so much better. It turns out I just really needed that coffee. And now I'm just sweating to death. Speaking of death, Washington Irving passed away when he was 75, I think 75, of a heart attack in his home, Sunnyside, down the road. This brings us to the final resting place of a wonderful Scottish American who contributed greatly to this country, particularly during the Industrial Revolution. This is the grave of Andrew Carnegie. I know a lot of people say Carnegie. It is Carnegie. Born in Scotland, in the Kingdom of Fife, to be exact. Dunfermline. I have been to his birthplace. I will insert a picture of that now. That was just a couple years ago. It was amazing because Caleb and I had already been to this final resting place. Then to see his birthplace and now come back here after seeing his birthplace in Scotland. Pretty cool stuff. It says, came to America in 1848, rose from a factory bobbin boy to become one of the world's most successful industrialists. His legacy is his philanthropy and the more than 20 institutions he endowed, like the Carnegie Libraries, Corporation of New York, Foundation of the Advancement of Teaching, the Dunfermline Trust, Carnegie Mellon University. I know you don't say Carnegie Mellon, it's Carnegie Mellon. It's very confusing. I think it's more like Carnegie has become the American pronunciation. But I had actually someone say to me once, I know you're Scottish because you pronounce it Carnegie. Yes, indeed. There's the man right there. Let's get closer and take a little peek. It is a simple Celtic cross. I swear these are the same flags Kay and I planted. Is it seriously possible that those have been here this entire time? I will insert a pic of that now. His Presbyterian faith was central in his life. He left everything to everyone, didn't want a drop of wealth upon his passing. He was one of the biggest givers in American history, a wonderful Scottish American, Andrew Carnegie. I honestly can't believe it. I did that. Oh, I'm so glad we did. I'm blown away. I'm very emotional over this. That is so awesome. Because it's been a long time. Over a year. That is wild. You can see here, born Dunfermline, Scotland, just across from the church where Robert the Bruce is buried. I'm not kidding. It's an amazing town. Everybody needs to visit Scotland as well. Died Lenox, Massachusetts. that is out in Western Mass, buried here in this beautiful cemetery in Sleepy Hollow, New York. I did that. I mean, America wouldn't have a lot of what we have without Andrew Carnegie, but see those flags? That was me. Me and Kay. Kay and I planted those over a year ago, well over a year ago. Like, it's been a long time. A beautiful Celtic cross headstone there. Look. Looky what I wore today. My Celtic cross. Gotta represent the peeps. This weekend I'm representing peeps on all sides. All sides of my peeps. I just walked up a giant hill. But how would you like that to be your surname? Van Winkbrink Erhoff. And look at the mausoleum on the hill. You guys just, this is the final resting place, crypt of William Rockefeller. And wouldn't you know, it's like the biggest dang one in here. Here is the whole Rockefeller group here. Of course, William Rockefeller with his brother John founded Standard Oil. They were another big names during the Industrial Revolution and building of this country, though they may not have been as kind-hearted. Hate to speak ill of the dead, but I will just say that they were quite different than Andrew Carnegie. And Theodore Roosevelt, another one of my heroes, famously had a lot of feuds with the Rockefeller family. He felt it was a monopoly and did not like the way that they ran things and shut down smaller businesses and gained their success. So a family not without controversy. You guys kind of sort of see through this fuzzy film through the front door. If you look, you can kind of see the tomb inside. I don't know when was the last time that I sweated this bad. It is crazy. It's kind of humid and over 80 degrees. It's like 82. And it's been much cooler lately. So I had been acclimated to heat, then got deacclimated to heat. And now I'm roasting again. I'm a roasted history chick. Totally worth it. Still roasting. So that is it for the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in Sleepy Hollow, New York for today. You could spend hours tromping around here. It's a place I come back to again and again. It will not be the last time that I bring you guys here, but we have so much more to do today, so we are going to move on down the road. Let's keep it going. Arrived at Washington Irving's Sunnyside along the beautiful Hudson River in Irvington, New York. And when Washington Irving bought this place, honestly, it was quite a dump. We're gonna take a look and see what he did to restore the beautiful property. Hopefully get on the tour. We had quite a bit of traffic to just get down the road. Things are getting really popular in this area, and as time goes on, it's just gonna get more and more popular with spoopy season coming up. But it is totally worth it, as I hope I have proven to you guys, because this is an amazing area. This man was amazing. I went in the gift shop, bought tickets. They said that you can buy them online, but you can also buy them in person as long as they're not too busy. And they do timed entries, but it's more so that they can gauge who's going on and when. Then you go in, and I'm confused as to whether it's self-guided or guided. I guess there's guides in there. Maybe they're just stationed in the rooms. That would be nice. I don't really feel like doing a long, drawn-out guided tour right now. So we'll see, whatever. I'm down with anything. Just super happy to be here. It's this really nice guide and map, and we'll see what happens here. There it is, Washington Irving's Sunnyside. Can't wait to go back to the gift shop too. They look like they had cool stuff. This house was originally built in 1835. Like I said, it was kind of a crumbling dump, and he took it and made it what it is today, and I just love how storybook it looks. And Washington Irving completed that volume on George Washington just weeks before he actually passed away of a heart attack in this house, in his bedroom. Family did continue to live in here until the 1940s, at which time Jon D. Rockefeller came to the rescue. Rockefeller, huge in historic preservation in this country, so another full circle moment, and he rescued the place. It's been open to the public since 1947. So important to note that Washington Irving did live in England for a time, and it's funny, he was living in England when he wrote one of the most wonderful stories about the Catskill Mountains of New York. That is Rip Van Winkle, one of my favorites. Oh, there goes the train. Moving fast. So yeah, he was living in England when he wrote Rip Van Winkle, that takes place in upstate New York, which is kind of funny. I think he was missing home when he wrote that. He did come back here and live out the rest of his days. If you guys are not familiar with the story of Rip Van Winkle, I highly suggest you give it another look or look at it for the first time. Rip Van Winkle follows the story of a strange little Dutchman named Rip Van Winkle who is enticed when he goes into the mountains one day, spot these strange people dressed in old-fashioned clothing. He allows them to get him drunk, which was a problem in Rip's life. His wife was not a fan of his strange partying and drinking ways. Nevertheless, he's enticed into the mountains by these little elfin-type, strange-dressed Dutch creatures. Goes in, chooses to get wasted to oblivion, falls asleep, and when he wakes up, he realizes that he had missed the Revolutionary War for independence. And the point, my friends, of Rip Van Winkle that Washington Irving was trying to make, when you really read the story and understand that it's allegorical, is do not let life pass you by. Do not let the important things run away from you. Do not be enticed by things of the world that can draw you away from what's important. Focus on the task at hand. Focus on what's going on around you. Focus on the important things. Do not fall asleep at the wheel. Do not fall asleep and miss your Revolutionary War. If you watch that history chick, you will not fall asleep. You will not be enticed. You will not miss the Revolutionary War. I will make sure of it. And I do these things to prove the point that it should not be missed. I know no way of judging the future by the past. Rip Van Winkle should have heeded that warning. He didn't. He fell asleep at the wheel, fell asleep on the job. That is the whole point, my friends. It's finally time to go in to Washington Irving's Sunnyside home.
Because he is very interested in having this look like a study for a man of letters. He is considered to be a leading writer at the time, one of the Americans who would have been able to sort of lead the way. So he is very much interested in his own specific legacy.
Look at that meal. And Washington Irving did suffer from heart disease. Sadly, that is what ended up taking him when he had his heart attack at the age of 75. Oof. But this is where he died. Absolutely beautiful. Washington Irving spoke many languages as well, which helped him when he was ambassador to Spain. Spanish was one of them. He spoke Hebrew, Greek, Latin, German. Brilliant man. Washington Irving never married because the love of his life sadly passed away before they could get married, and he never really found anyone that was up to snuff after that. So sadly, he never married, he never had children of his own. He was close with his nieces and nephews. Washington Irving's bedroom. Wow. There is an image of that all-important moment in his life where Washington blessed him at the age of 6 years old. Like me, Washington Irving was a huge fan of George Washington and George Washington's Mount Vernon. He would travel there extensively for research, nerdery, and the kind of reasons that I go as well. So much in common. Here's another guest room.
Kind of a little bit too like.
I love that needlework. Kind of 3D picture there with the sheep.
Which, you know, is still kind of an...
The kitchen, and they were saying that Washington Irving loved donuts fried in lard, which is unfortunate if you have heart disease. Of course, they didn't really know or understand things like that. even into, you know, the mid-1800s. And Washington Irving coined a lot of important words that we use in the American lexicon, such as the word donut. The New York Knicks would not be the Knicks if it wasn't for Knickerbocker, the character in Washington Irving's History of New York. And the term Gotham, we wouldn't have Gotham City. Would there even really be a Batman without Washington Irving? Begs the question. That was an absolutely wonderful tour. Everybody there super knowledgeable, helpful, very nice, no weirdness, very thorough, very kind. Definitely worth it. What a day. It is hot, but it is beautiful. So I hope you guys are taking away from this that Washington Irving is huge in American history. His influence is widespread. He was a wonderful man, continues to be an inspiration, from the terminology that he sort of created to keeping histories alive. His biographies on people like Columbus and George Washington are really amazing pieces of writing, and his legacy certainly living on here in this part of New York. You can see it everywhere. Really beautiful gift shop. Stepped into this little like outbuilding. We've got some Sleepy Hollow memorabilia from kind of different versions of it. There's the Disney record. Love it. Noting that it's actually Bing Crosby who narrates the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the Disney cartoon. And if you guys have not watched Mr. Toad and the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Wind in the Willows, the Disney double feature for a while, give that another look too, because it's absolutely delightful. I mean, I know I'm a Disney nerd, but they're some of my favorites. The story is told through shadow puppets.
In this fireplace of nature, there abode a young schoolmaster by the name of Ichabod.
This is in the Disney cartoon version, actually. Ichabod's horse is voiced by none other than Clarence Ducky Nash, the original Donald Duck. So, legend is right. Myself a pretty sweet Sleepy Hollow Sunnyside exclusive mug. And we got some chips to tie us over so we don't die until we go get food, because we're definitely feeling like we need some carbs and some salt. Haven't really eaten other than having coffee, which is not food. So we'll have to fix that later too, but what an awesome day. Here they've got some examples of other historic sites in the area. And I can't believe it. I'm standing here and this guy in this car next to the sign happens to be listening to Charlie Kirk. And again, as I said the other day, I dedicate this vlog to the memory of the great Charlie Kirk. Wow, wow, wow. Look at this view. We are on the banks of the Hudson River looking over. That is Sleepy Hollow, Tarrytown over there where we were yesterday, looking this way, and now we are looking that way. Just had to get a closer glimpse. I feel like New York gets a really bad rap because everyone thinks of the city and hears about some crime that happens, and I'm not diminishing that. That can be very true. But if you get outside of the city, and I've said that several times on this channel, New York has so much to offer, and it's an absolutely beautiful state. There's so much to do here. You would never run out of things to see and experience. And honestly, the people are super friendly. Standing on the western shore of this magnificent 350-mile long river, 2.5 miles wide here in Piermont. The shallow section of the river is called the Tappan Zee Bay. Tappan Zee Bridge. And there's Henry Hudson meeting with the indigenous people. And as I mentioned the other day, this was Lenape, indigenous land. Town is full of World War II history. It was the main stopping point where soldiers were sent off to Europe.
Where German and Italian POWs first arrived and then got processed.
Millions and millions of men went through here on their way out to fight in World War II. Such a nice area, beautiful town. And this is a nice affluent area, but actually for 2.5 million, you can get Chateau Amour. That's huge. Actually, that price compared to places on the West Coast or even around Boston, not bad. This is a really beautiful area. I'm not saying that's cheap by any means, but for what you get, that's less than I thought it would be. It says that this place is $1 million here. 5 bed, 3.5 bath, 3,800 square feet. That's on par with New Hampshire prices. And I didn't even understand or notice what I was standing under. So you guys know Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank? Yeah, so this is one of her realtor offices, which is pretty funny and random. Really picturesque, cute little main street. And we really didn't plan on coming here. Noah just found that they've got a vintage store, so we're like, okay, let's head over there and cross the Tappan Bridge and check out the other side of the Hudson. So here we are. A lot of Italian restaurants and the cutest little like gelato shop ever. Such a cute little town, and this was a really fun detour. We're just kind of exploring this area on the other side of the Hudson right now and really enjoying ourselves. We're gonna head over further on up to an antique store and take you to this site of Jon André's hanging and where they held him at the old 76 house until his death. All right, went into the Piermont Creamery and I got myself a lemon coconut sorbet because I am still sweating. So remember when I said, oh, I think it's like 82? Yeah, guys, it's 87 degrees. And a reminder that I am in pants and I still haven't gone back and changed or anything like that. Mr. Noah got an Oreo shake. Thought it'd be a good little treat because we haven't even had dinner yet or anything like that. We still have much to do. So we are gonna move on and enjoy this beautiful New York day. This is very weird. We are in the middle of a neighborhood and here is this stone marker behind this fence blocked by orange traffic cones because apparently they don't want anybody to go up on it. But this is the actual spot where they hanged Jon André after he was caught with the papers between him and Benedict Arnold and the plans to turn over West Point to the British. I have never actually been up here to this spot, and I thought, you know what? We were close enough, closer than we usually are when we're at home in New Hampshire, so I couldn't miss the opportunity, but this is literally just like the middle of this regular neighborhood here. I don't know how many people actually make the trek up here or care, but here it sits, and I'm literally parked like in someone's driveway.
He was more unfortunate than criminal.
An accomplished man, and again, okay.
Great officer.
This says, he was more unfortunate than criminal, an accomplished man and a gallant officer. So even, and that was George Washington, even George Washington recognized that yes, we had to hang him. Yes, it was unfortunate. We had to do it. But there was a reputable quality about Jon André. And that's what makes him so complicated when you kind of tell his story now. And I know that I've talked about this before, but if you guys have not watched, there was a series called Turn Washington Spies that was on AMC. You can still stream it. Jon André and Benedict Arnold plot is central to that, and I highly recommend you guys check it out if you're looking for a good period piece to watch. While it's not completely historically accurate, it does a really good job of particularly telling the Arnold André story. One of the more bizarre historic sites, if you want to call it that. I mean, it is. A thing happened here. A difficult, sad, but important and necessary thing. So it is a historic site, but it is just a regular little nondescript neighborhood near Tappan, New York, very close to the New Jersey border. This place is a national treasure. This is the old 76 house where Jon André was brought and served as a prison while he awaited his execution. Ben Talmadge came here and interrogated him, questioned him, made sure that he didn't get away. it's kind of strange because it's also a place where Jon André and others kind of realize that in that moment, you know, talking to Jon André, that he actually seemed like a nice, decent guy who was doing his job, which made it all the more difficult. But here we have a state historic marker, 76th house, where Major Jon André, British spy, plotter with Arnold to deliver West Point, was confined before his execution. Really, really amazing. And it is a real working tavern. Yeah, for horses. You tie up your horse? You're not a spy, are you, Nono?
Yeah.
No! You're not allowed to be a spy. Here we go, another New York State historic marker. The Trail of André. The British spy André was found guilty in the Dutch church, which stood in 1780 on the side of this edifice. So there was an older church here that served as the courtroom where he was officially found guilty. Now after this, we're going to go over to where Washington's headquarters was down the road, where he actually intimidated and questioned André and got the answers he needed before he was brought here to court and officially sentenced. And this is another Dutch Reformed church. There's been one here since the 1690s. Maybe what it is this is the original. I think this, see, it's been added on. I think this is the quote-unquote newer part of the building. Maybe this is the original? Does it say? 3rd Continental Light Dragoons. They were surprised while asleep in the old Tappan, today's Rivervale, New Jersey, taken prisoner by British forces. They died here in Tappan on and about September 28, 1778. Oh my gosh, I had forgotten about this story. See, sometimes just getting out and exploring. And can we just stop and appreciate the amazing day that we have had? Absolutely a crazy, amazing day. I am so thankful, happy, blessed to be on this adventure with my kid and bringing you guys along, exploring this gorgeous part of New York and delving deep into our history and finding the ways that they are all interconnected. Probably wondering where Jon André ended up getting buried after this big fiasco and after he was hanged here. He was taken back to London and he is actually buried in Westminster Abbey with other extremely notable Brits from throughout history. It's really ironic. Noah was just asking me, well, did André actually accomplish anything? You know, was he successful in the Revolutionary War? The strange irony is that the most successful thing he did was getting Benedict Arnold over on his side and planning what would have been an absolute disaster for us and huge victory for them. But it didn't succeed, so we can't say. We ate similar type of tavern food last night, so we're not really sure that we want to eat here. We are going to go in and take a look at their menu, see if they have like a little gift shop or anything, and see if we can just kind of take a look around. Not sure if I'm going to be able to film that. We'll see how it goes. Sometimes it can be awkward just trying to do that, and I definitely don't want to like take advantage or feel like, you know, I don't know. I just think in some ways it could be rude to just go somewhere and not buy anything, but we'll see how this goes. Oh, and look at that. They do have merchandising. Let's see if we can take a closer look here. Very cool in here. Noah said that the menu is high-end. They also have live music going right now. This is awesome. The New York battles plagued poor General Washington for a really long time. It was very upsetting. Defeat after defeat in this area. We'll be talking more about some of the Revolutionary War battles in New York tomorrow. So here's the deal. That restaurant, as you saw, was super cool. High-end menu, kind of. There was really nothing on it that we wanted. It's very, again, similar to the menu last night. So I think we're going to move on, but always so cool to see the old 76 house. they say oldest tavern in America. I feel like I've heard other taverns say the same or similar, but there has been a tavern there since the 1600s. So that very well may be definitely a very cool vibe. Okay guys, super excited to be at this, which I think is going to be our last stop of a very action-packed day. This is George Washington's headquarters at Tappan, New York. He used this headquarters 4 different times during the Revolutionary War. 1783, General Washington had to entertain British General Guy Carleton here as he negotiated the surrender to get the British Army safely through New York after their surrender and the war and all of this had been over, because Yorktown had already happened in the years prior. The Treaty of Paris was officially signed, and it was time for the Redcoats to leave New York and the horrendous battles of New York to be behind General Washington and to form a new nation. Got this beautiful building here where Washington used as his headquarters during conflicts in and around New York. They're flying the Washington flag designed at Valley Forge in the years prior. We've got a bust of Washington over there. We're going to take a look at all this stuff. Just soaking it in. Yeah, so this says this house was occupied by General George Washington as Army headquarters on 4 occasions. As I said, here the general in 1780, after reviewing the evidence in the case of Major Jon André, Adjutant General of the British Army, approved the report of a board of general officers condemning André to suffer death as a spy. Here, on the conclusion of peace in 1783, the British Commander-in-Chief, General Sir Guy Carleton, was sumptuously entertained by Washington when they met to plan the orderly evacuation of New York City by His Majesty's forces. This house was built in the year 1700 by Daniel de Clark, leader of the Tappan Patanese, who bought all of the part of the county from the native Indians in 1682. Wow. The place passed into the possession of John DeWitt, a wealthy planter from the West Indies in 1746, and was known as the DeWitt Mansion when the father of our country sojourned beneath its roof. This historic site was purchased by members of the Fraternity of Free Masons of the state of New York and set apart as a permanent Masonic shrine dedicated to the memory of George Washington in the 200th year of his birth, 1932. And yeah, it talks about the Washington flag reproduction of George Washington's headquarters flag. Flag flew over most places where he established his headquarters, including Valley Forge, which again is really where it started. The DeWitt House, George Washington designed the flag. 13 pointed stars representing the colonies. John Glenn, the first United States astronaut to orbit the Earth, carried a reproduction on his space shuttle Discovery in 1998. And I, for one, love the Washington flag. This place is very well taken care of, very well preserved. Trying to break in, not really, kind of. We'll take a look around here. So many bug bites from New York bugs, by the way. I've been getting attacked all day. There we go. Nice bust of His Excellency overlooking the beautiful gardens and property here in Tappan, New York, which during very stressful moments he called home. Like a normal person and want to go places during normal hours, they are opened to visitors during normal humane type times. But we're not normal, we're like go, 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 and kind of fitting a lot into the day. So awesome. Guy Carleton, by the way, we're going to be talking about because he was also involved in the Quebec campaign, which is going to be celebrating, well, part of it has already happened, 250 years ago this month. And we're going to be headed up to Maine and down in Newburyport, Massachusetts, kind of following in the footsteps of Arnold and talking about the failed Arnold expedition to Quebec and kind of the idea behind that. So that's what I mean about a little time jumping and following the story. But again, all of these things very much intertwined. So it's good to have a, kind of complete understanding of this story. And I hope I'm providing that for you guys. Anytime I can walk in Washington's footsteps, I get super emotional. I told you this was the Great Americans Tour. I hope the timeline is making sense of everything that we've walked through. I think it's amazing, the connections between Washington Irving, George Washington, Jon André, the Revolutionary War, all of it. I love all of it. Hope you guys are loving all of it too. I appreciate you guys. I think that's gonna do it for today. We have done so much. I am that history chick, and like Patrick Henry, of course, I know of no way of judging the future, but by the past. The past is alive, it's real, it's waiting to be explored all across this beautiful country of ours, definitely here in this beautiful part of New York State. We're gonna carry on, and we will see you soon. More adventure ahead. We're still here tomorrow, so look forward to another video coming out. So they'll probably be delayed because I'm not really working on them all too much while I'm here downloading, but it's going to take a minute, so you'll see these afterwards when we're back in New Hampshire. But thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, I am on Instagram at _historychick, on Facebook at @thathistorychick, and right here on YouTube at @thathistorychick with more exciting content from the 18th century and beyond. We will see you soon. Take care, guys. I had to bonus footage this one. I came over to get gas across the street from where we just had dinner, and I didn't even notice. We pulled in the spot, and Noah goes, wait a minute, I think we're in New Jersey, because there's the Welcome to New York sign. So yeah, we are just over the border in New Jersey. I just thought that was funny. Here is that the guy came and yelled at me, and I forgot that in Jersey it's the only state where they pump your gas. You're not allowed to pump your own gas. He's like, just give me your card, ma'am. I was like, oh, I forgot, I'm in New Jersey. You pump gas here. I haven't been to Jersey for a while. He was like, just give me your card. Oh my gosh. So random. Because I honestly didn't realize where I was.